Think of the educator mindsets as ideas that are out of balance in schools. Our educator mindsets are four pairs of ideas found in schools that are in tension with one another: equity and equality, asset framing and deficit thinking, aware and avoidant, context-centered, and context-neutral. We don't want to present any of these ideas as absolutely good or absolutely bad. There are lots of times in schools where treating everyone the same is important. If you want to help kids learn, sometimes you have to think about their deficits and what they don't know. There are times in schools where nothing is more rewarding than trying to forget everything about the context that we live in every day and to dive into some other world through literature or history or astronomy. Rather than thinking about these mindsets as pairs of absolutely good or absolutely bad, we want you to test out a hypothesis that these mindsets are way out of balance in schools. We have a bias towards equality when our schools would benefit from bigger heapings of equity. We sometimes need to think about what kids don't know, but we miss way too many opportunities to think about the distinctive strengths and assets that kids do bring to class every day. There are times when it's perfectly appropriate not to be engaging with race or ethnicity, but there are so many times when we really ought to be discussing the implications of these topics for our students, but instead we remain silent. Of course, all education is local, and sitting here at MIT, we can't tell you exactly what thinking and practice is like at your school or exactly what you can do to make your school more equitable. Instead, we want to encourage you to take our hypothesis and test it in your own context. Here we have a few ideas for how you can get started. First, be aware of when you're using reasoning that's aligned with one of the mindsets. When you're next evaluating your students, ask yourself, are you thinking just about their perceived effort or about treating all of your students exactly the same? That kind of reasoning is more aligned with the equality mindset. Or are you thinking about how unearned privilege or structural inequality is affecting student performance? Or about the individual supports that each student will need to be successful? That's more aligned with the equity mindset. Now, it's really hard to be reflective about these things because educators make so many decisions every day. You can't reflect on everything. You'd never get anything done. But as you learn more about the mindsets, try to reflect on how they might be implicated in your own work as an educator. We hope that our practice spaces will help you do this kind of reflection. In our work with teachers, we often hear them say, I realized how many choices I make in a day, and I'm moving so fast I don't have time to notice them. The practice spaces help me pause and look at why I'm doing the things I do. Which mindset am I coming from? Second, a great thing about mindsets is that they can change. Mindsets are not innate and immutable qualities that we're stuck with. They're the way that we as educators reason about our decisions. If you feel like you don't typically think about your curriculum and lesson planning through the lens of race or ethnicity or some other dimension of identity that's important to your students, then try doing that. Look at what voices and perspectives and examples are represented in your curriculum, and think about whether your most vulnerable students, the students who most feel like outsiders, would see themselves in your curriculum in your classroom. Our claim is that these mindsets are out of balance, and you can test that claim in your own local context. Try to do more teaching, more curriculum planning, more school programming with the underrepresented mindset in mind and see what happens. Finally, as you learn more about mindsets, talk with your colleagues about what you're learning. Ask trusted peers about their experiences thinking about bias and inequity and how these features are affecting students in your school. I think what you'll find and what you'll see as we visit schools around the country that are deeply invested in work around equity is that when folks in schools shift their thinking to putting these educator mindsets into a better balance, then those teachers are better able to serve all of the diverse kids who show up in their schools each and every day.